Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. We have, of course, already begun our hurricane season 2025, and a lot has been going on, not only regionally but internationally, in making persons aware. This is no different here in the British Virgin Islands. Joining me today is Director of the Department of Disaster Management, Mr. Jasen Penn, along with Andrew Jackson, a meteorologist, making sure that you, the Virgin Islanders, are up to date and aware of the progress happening this hurricane season. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Life is unpredictable, and when a storm is coming, having a plan can make all the difference.
We need a plan in case of a hurricane. Everyone, let's work together on this.
This is where we go in case if we need to evacuate. This is safe away from flood zones.
I will use this room as our secure space if we have to stay home.
Don't forget to save our local contacts and also our off-island contacts.
Right, and we need to have a plan for our pets too. They can't go to shelters, so we need a safe place for them.
In case we get separated, we should have a meeting spot. How about the community center?
That's good, and we can leave a note there too.
I feel safe knowing we have a plan.
With a plan, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're taking control of the situation. A message from the Department of Disaster Management and 284 Media.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, we're discussing all things hurricane season 2025. Joining me to my near right is Director of the Department of Disaster Management, Mr. Jasen Penn, and to his right, Mr. Andrew Jackson, a meteorologist. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And welcome.
Thanks for having us.
You're most welcome. Mr. Penn, I want to begin with you. A lot has been said so far across the region and internationally as it pertains to the expectation of the hurricane season for 2025. What would you say so far have been the observations?
Well, the observations that I've seen thus far, in conjunction with interacting and speaking with Andrew, is that we've been off to some, I wouldn't say a slow start, but in our particular area, we've been blessed with the abundance of Saharan dust, which have sort of restricted the development of some of the waves that are coming across our way. We would know that there has been at least 3 developed systems for the year. The last forecast that came out reduced the number of storms that were indicated in the earlier forecast that was put out. So now we had 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. Of that 16, you would have had 3 that have occurred already. But what we should be cognizant of that is taking place right now, you'd see that a number of regional family members, countries, they would be experiencing flooding. A lot of the waves has been going across, straight across to the west for some time. They're now gradually making that north-westerly turn. So the conditions are starting to change. Even though the dust has been helping us out, pretty much at some point the dust is going to develop, and then we could see a spike in the development of the systems as they move off.
Understood.
And Ron, if you don't mind me adding, a part of that is also the high pressure system that acts as like a blocking fence. So those tropical waves that have been coming across, they've been pretty to the south of us. And as Mr. Penn mentioned, we have been fortunate to have the dust so far, in a sense, to help restrict any major development in our area.
Understood. Gentlemen, as we are already in the hurricane season, I want to talk about preparedness and planning. What are your areas of focus, or what do you want to convey to the general public regarding our level of preparation and planning? And from your perspective, Mr. Penn, from the Department of Disaster Management, is the country prepared, fully prepared for the hurricane season as best as possible, that is?
I think that we're still progressing. Earlier this year, we would have had a National Disaster Management Council meeting, chaired by the governor, co-chaired by the premier. In that particular meeting, you would have had the key agencies, key representatives in terms of action points that needs to be taken for key operational departments as well. Operational departments like the water and sewage, public works, and so forth would be in that particular meeting. in terms of clearing of guts, and likewise checking up the water supply. We know water is a hot topic, but of course, uh, they would still continue to do their best. In the event if something were to come in our way, they still have to do their mitigative measures to ensure that there's still some semblance of water and so forth. In addition to coming out of that meeting, what we would have discussed, the readiness of the shelters, that was completed. We have 26 shelters available for the year.
Excellent.
The list has been posted to our website. It has been shared through our media sites as well. I will encourage persons that if you're not familiar with the shelters at this time, you could download that listing, and it will tell you where the shelters are. Ron, if you permit me,
absolutely.
I could just go down the list pretty quickly of some of these shelters and where they're located. We have the Gertrude and Christiana and Gertrude Warner Community Center, that's in Postle. We have the M.E. Dumnut Community Center, that's in the settlement. Long Trench Community Center, Long Trench, of course. You have the North Sound Community Center with limited access, but that's in the North Sound area. North Sound Methodist Church Hall, Upper Room Victory Church, Valley Old Thomas Community Center, Wendell Potter Learning Center, that's in Postle. Western Community Center, the Agape Total Life Center, BVI Seventh-day Adventist School, and Seacoast Bay, King Garden Bay Community Center, that's King Garden Bay Baptist Church, King Garden Bay as well, Eastern Landlow Community Center. We have the Rotown Methodist Church Hall, Rotown, St. Mary's Anglican Church, the Valley Seventh-day Adventist Church Hall again. This one is that's in the Valley as well. We have the Bellevue Seventh-day Adventist Church, that's in the Bellevue area. King Garden Bay Methodist Church in King Garden Bay. Carrot Bay Seventh-day Adventist Youth Center, that's in Carrot Bay. Church of God of Prophecy, just from like Church of God of Prophecy, East End. We have Church of God of Holiness in the Valley, Eastern Methodist Church, East End. And we have the Sanctuary of Hope, the Valley Virgin God, and the Valley Methodist Church. I should highlight too, Ron, that shelters come in various categories. There are primary shelter, secondary shelter, tertiary. Primary shelters typically accommodate cooking, bathing, sleeping, shower facilities. Secondary, the cooking may not be there, but everything else. Tertiary, usually sleeping, bathroom. In the tertiary shelters, we typically tend to try and use those after the event. Some of them, because some are located within the coastal areas, and other persons would tend to ask, because of storm surge and where this shelter is located, why is it on the list? And
Understood.
I think that it's clear to understand that it's not just for hurricanes. We have to have sheltering for other hazards as well.
After the fact as well. Yes.
So that's the full lineup of the shelters that were approved for this year. We are still working on the marine shelters, and those are the shelters where persons would pack their vessels and so forth.
Understood. Excellent. Mr. Jackson, I want to talk to you a little bit about information and monitoring. From your perspective, how can persons really navigate the information received as well as proper monitoring?
All right. How can persons navigate the information received? First and foremost, you have to pay attention to the messaging, right? Not just the headlines of the message, but right through the messaging. And from time to time, we will get different messages in the form of like alerts, advisories, watches, or warning. But what does that mean to us? An advisory pretty much is saying that something is out there that we should pay attention to, right? And if it's elevated, then it could be a watch. A watch is saying that this is possible within like a 2-day time span. Putting that into context, you have to, whatever you need to do, have it done within that 2 days. When it's a warning, it's more than likely going to happen. You should be acting. If it's a case you need to evacuate to somewhere, you do that now and get it done. Just to add to the whole level of preparedness, we are going into August, and that is when we usually see the tropical waves get a little more robust in our area for us to just keep an eye out there. And that is when my team and I would put out like different information statements, so to speak, whether it be like, just to say that we could have a severe weather event to supplement what it is the Hurricane Center would be putting out, stuff like that.
Understood. Excellent. Well,
and I also wanted to indicate and share as well, Ron, I believe that public will also see that we issue alert statements that come from the Antigua and
Correct.
Barbuda Meteorological Service. Some of those alert statements have bits and pieces of information in there that is very important and critical that we adhere to. What I would say is when an alert statement is issued, and typically what Antigua does, they have a particular spectrum within uh, the crossing the Atlantic that they would begin to monitor, usually from 40 degrees out, which is
Okay.
about 2,600 miles away from the territory. Um, what I would encourage is that even though there are some persons who track systems from far out, or those that because of their busy time schedule may not be paying much attention to certain things, is when they see that false alert statement, which in that may mean is not a matter of them really doing something, but just letting them know something is there. That would be a critical time to start to look at your plans, or as a business owner, alert your staff and start looking at the plan for the business as well as what would take place if things were to continue to change.
Understood.
So those alert statements could be used as triggers in what they would need to start now doing in the event something was to be coming in our direction.
And while we're already on alerts, just because we're already here, is there an app, is there a WhatsApp channel for persons locally outside of the alerts that might come periodically? Is there a centered source that persons in the BVI could perhaps tap into the DDM?
Yes, persons can download our app. We've had an app for several years, but now we're in the second, I would say the second iteration of it. It's available via Google Play Store as well as Apple iOS. The name is BVI DDM. If you
Okay.
search either of those stores, it would show up, of course, with our department logo. You can download that app. That's where we send emergency messages to. In addition to that, the app also has the ability to tie our shelters into it. So if you want to know where the shelters are, contact information, and possible where exactly the building is located, the app can take you to that as well. There's also other features in there in terms of providing updates, providing bits of information back to us. One of the other apps that I've encouraged persons to download as well. I think the government has an app where you can report it. That would be a very good app to have on your phone as well. It would be very helpful in terms of you can maybe take an image, you can provide bits and pieces of information. It would help in terms of readiness, where other organizations that are from the government standpoint that may need to have certain things addressed, that would enable or make it easier for that information to be captured. So maybe possibly could get somebody to work on that as quickly as possible.
Understood. One of the things that has been a conversation regionally is, of course, the National Hurricane Center. There's the monitoring and the whole satellite issue. Break that down for us and put into perspective that situation where we're at now, and perhaps how it would affect us here in the Virgin Islands receiving timely updates.
Okay. In terms of the satellite issue, the National Hurricane Center, there were I think three particular microwave type satellites that were decommissioned. They were used by the Ministry of Defense out of the U.S. as well as the National Hurricane Center. What the removal of those satellites pretty much means is that those satellites used to allow the forecasters to see the structure of the entire system. That's from the cloud tops all the way in to how the system itself is structured. What they got from that information, it helped them to understand the central location of the eye. It helped them to understand intensification. It also helped them to understand maybe the actual, I would say, location of where the particular system is in potential input, and I think I mentioned intensity already.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, which is a very strong factor. Without having these bits and pieces of information, what it does is the margin of error then increases. That means, like we would have seen with Beryl, Beryl was one of those systems that went from, I think it was a tropical storm all the way up to a high category type system within 48 hours.
Wow.
That was the fastest. I mean, that was the quickest recorded in history. So now, not having particular satellites like this, what again allows them to use them even when, I would say, during the nighttime. Uh, and because of other satellites that you may use during daylight times where you can see certain things, you can go sleep with a tropical storm that we've been monitoring. And before you know it, it could be a devastating hurricane bowling towards the territory.
Understood.
Remember, I mentioned that margin of error as well.
Correct.
And if that margin of error is there, that doesn't mean a margin of error about 1 mile. That could be 10 miles, 100 miles.
Yes,
Forecasters may need to adjust. And that could mean that they're now adjusting the system maybe 100 miles closer to us. So you can see where the margin of error falls in. And from that, I think it's critical for us to, and I would have said this earlier in speaking, that we do a little bit more in terms of our preparation, monitor, be aware of what's going on. Right now is a quiet period.
Yes.
We're into the festival season, which is good, but we still have to bear in mind that these things pretty
Major
much
factors.
pick up rapidly. So let's
Understood.
do our part.
And Mr. Jackson?
So, Ron, just to add to that also, it is pretty much saying that with this shortfall, it just means that we need to pay a keen eye in our preparation. Don't take anything for granted. Because as Mr. Penn mentioned very last year, I mean, as he said, you'll feel comfortable probably going to your bed with say a tropical storm. But when you're not able to monitor how rapid it probably will intensify, that could be an issue. So saying that is that we should pay attention to what we are doing now when it's calm,
Understood.
so that we could be better prepared.
Excellent.
And I also wanted to add to Ron that despite the decommissioning of the satellites, the other mechanisms, speaking with our regional partners, CDMA, Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology, there are other entities in the UK who we partner with as well, who we speak with, who do have access to a wide range of expertise, equipment, and so forth that would be able to help in somewhat augmenting what has been removed.
Understood.
But it's also important for us, even at home, to build capacity. Capacity is in terms of our knowledge. Seeking training if needed. You could go to the Red Cross, have a first aid course for your family.
Simple start,
for training. These things do help in terms of your preparedness. And I just wanted to advocate for certain things like that going into the season.
Very well said. So we completed much on that issue, but I want to just sideways here. One of the aspects that the public has been looking forward to is the completion of the DDM building. That has been halted. Is there anything at all, Mr. Penn, you could say on that, not just situation, but progress of the building?
Well, if looking at the building of where it's at
Located,
right now,
yes.
I would say the structure is there.
Mm-hmm.
You can clearly see
Yes.
that from looking at far that the structure is up, which looks somewhat in the range of let me not give a range, but let me just say the superstructure is there. The premier would have spoke about it in the house, the issues surrounding the building, and he also would have done a number of interviews along that line as well. So persons, if they do like, they can check within the GIS feeds or other feeds to get a little bit more information in terms of what's happening
Noted.
in that regard. But I
Understood.
should indicate that despite our building not being, despite the building not
The
being
new building,
completed, the new building not being completed, we do have alternatives that we use as backup, National Emergency Operations Centers. And of course, if anything forbids, then our alternative would be the building that you'll move to continue the NEOC operations.
Understood. Wonderful. Gentlemen, before I let you go, I just want you to both reiterate for the public. You mentioned a lot about preparedness and planning, provided quite a bit of insight onto our shelters, available shelters, the app, the situation with the National Hurricane Center, and the satellite issue. What would you say to the general public, both of you, before we head out today?
Okay.
Okay, just to add and to close, while we talk about the hurricane season and we pay attention to storms and hurricanes, and we would have mentioned the Sahara dust and stuff like that, there's also other factors that or other hazards that we should pay attention to, and heat is a big one. And just yesterday, we had temperatures feeling like 103. Putting that into context, last year in October, for the Rotown area, we had feel-like temperature up to 112. So just putting it into context that while we are preparing for hurricanes, let us be mindful that there are other hazards that happen during the hurricane season that could just be as impactful as, say, a storm. And even for us, if we don't get impacted by a named storm, we should also pay attention to when we put out information regarding tropical waves. Because if you remember last year, we were flooded quite a few times without being in a named storm. So just putting that out there, that just be prepared while we prepare for storms. Remember the heat, and we still have probably a couple of weeks more left of the dust around. So for those that have allergies and have respiratory conditions, pay attention to the messaging that relates to the dust, so that we could all be safe as a nation.
Thank you. Mr. Penn?
I would say to the public, preparation is key. Ensure that you have the medications that you need. Check on those that are vulnerable, that are close to you. Ensure that they know where they can get assistance or what they need to have in place, especially going back to medications again. Persons that have medications that need to be stored in cool areas or something, make sure that you have a plan for that. And also to bear in mind that it only takes one system to recover. So let's do our best to prepare during these times.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to stop by and chat. The invitation, as you know, is always open to the Department of Disaster Management to come and provide any relevant updates to the general public. So thank you so much. A happy festival. I hope you have a safe and enjoyable one.
Thank
you.
Of
course, we're wishing the public a safe hurricane season.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're most welcome. Viewers, that is all the time we have. Have a beautiful rest of the day. I'm Ron Grant. Goodbye.